everyone. So before we get into all the juicy stuff, just want to mention that this podcast, this episode is just three guys sitting down, chatting about the blockchain industry as individuals, right? It's not financial advice from BSCN or from MH Ventures or from Animoca Brands, purely for entertainment purposes. So I want to make that very clear before we kick off.
All right, welcome to the very first episode of the BSCN and MH Ventures Deal Flow podcast. I'm your host, Mixed Race Magic, and today I've got with me two very, very special and hopefully very regular guests. Please introduce yourselves, boys.
I'm KDOT. Thanks for having me. I'm from MH, one of the GPs.
Thanks, Jonny, for having us. My name is Mehdi. Deal all things investment, partnership, and Animoca Brands.
Awesome. Two amazing guests. I'm sure you'd agree. So I think without messing around, let's just dive into our first topic, which is, as Mehdi suggested, meme coins. Absolutely no questions there. I think let's just go in and riff about it. What's your favorite meme coin, Cam?
So I'm going to show my own bags, and this is, I think, because of you, because you covered it. And I'm still holding it very strong. Cock Inu on AVAX. I know that they recently...
Oh, that was
and
my
I only
one.
bought it because of you. So you covered it, and you're bearish.
I've never held
everything.
I've never held it. Yeah, it's true. That is true. Pretty much perma bear. But why cock? Why do you love cock so much, Kay?
Honestly, I don't know. I've not even looked at it because basically you shielded it to me, so I bought it. The FTV was super low, and it's like I have this. Yeah,
it's
but
gone
I have
up
this
since.
thing, right? Like
it's gone up a lot since.
I'm going to the billions with meme coins, or I'm going to zero. There's no literally in between. So.
Yeah, you treat it as lost capital.
I ape.
It's like putting money on a game.
If it goes to 2 billion, cool. I may sell. If it goes to zero.
Yeah, but don't say I shilled it.
You did.
I didn't shill it. I said it was funny. They posted some good videos, and it was a fair launch.
And then that's it. What else do you need in a meme coin?
Didn't shill it. And also, I said it was the only guaranteed one on, how Avalanche released their list of meme coins they hold for their culture fund. That was the only one that I was like, yeah, 100% that's going to be it.
That's it.
And they only started on 5th of February was their first tweet, I think. 5th of February.
So next stop, 2 bill.
No. Oh, maybe earlier than that.
Yeah.
Next stop, 2 bill. Okay, the prediction's in. Mehdi, what about you? Do you hold any meme coins? Are they not for you?
Not financial advice. Not financial advice. Recently started buying CFA. Literally the reason why I bought it was because I'm a CFA and the community of TradFi Bro, that meme is trending. And I feel like with 6 million market cap, that was just no brainer. The community just takes the piss out of all the TradFi Bros out there, kind of memeing about how crypto is overvalued, why they should use DCF and all that stuff. I think it's very memeable, so I just took the punt.
I've seen a lot of the TradFi memes going around, not necessarily about meme coins, but like they're trending. I don't know whether they just recommend them to me because they like somehow extrapolate that I work in some form of finance, but I get shilled a lot of that stuff, to be fair. But I don't know, I feel like now we should probably dive into our actual topic for the day. Or do we want to crack on with meme coins for a little bit? No?
I think that we should solidify something here, and that is if we all find good memes, we share it with each other. That's the only way to become financially free.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. That's what I was told at university, anyway.
What do you do after? What do you do with a meme? I don't understand that. So if the owner launches it at a fair launch, what do they do after that?
It depends on the project, right? So some meme coins, they went fully for utility, didn't they? Like, I don't know, what am I thinking here? What's a meme coin that decided to try and slap some utility on after? Oh, mate, yeah, but that's a unique case. Whereas there are some meme coins that just completely are just like, we're a leveraged bet on our L1. Like something like Pepe, like they have absolutely no intention of doing anything like integrations or use cases for it, stuff like that. They're just like, we're a major Ethereum meme coin. We'll probably do well if Ethereum does well. That's probably the ethos. I think that's probably true for most meme coins. Like there's some, like I know that Baby Doge is trying to do some partnership stuff.
I don't mind that, to be honest. I don't mind that. I feel like the whole thing with meme coin is just to try and capture as much attention as possible. So I think after the expiry date of a particular meme, how do you kind of extend that life cycle? So I think doing integrations, partnership, marketing, whatever, I think kind of helps them to kind of stay relevant.
100. Did you see WIF raised 750K to get on the Las Vegas Dome?
Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah, no, I don't know when it's going to happen, but I think that's.
Yeah, but do you think that's
amazing.
good?
I
know
magical.
It's great marketing inside of crypto, like, you know, cool. The dog with hat is on the bloody Sophia, but like, does that really bring in the retailers?
I remember like I was on a work trip to Dubai in I think late 2021, something like that, and Floki was all over Dubai Airport.
It was in London
like,
as well.
All over it. I don't know, man. Was it in London too? It was on the tube, wasn't it? Yeah, like marketing campaigns like that. Like, kind of knew about that token anyway, just because it was all over social media. But that made me like look like, okay, what the hell is this? What is going on? So maybe, but also. Even those ads, they were talking about, I think, the asset itself, maybe, or at least the project. Whereas I think the idea with the whiff on the Las Vegas Sphere is basically just putting the meme up. So there's going to be like, I would say like 90% of people that look at it are going to have absolutely no idea what it is, and they're probably not even going to have a way to Google it. Like it's so I think you're right. It is inward facing for the crypto markets for the most part, but equally, I don't know. It's also pretty awesome, But I would say that like so most meme coins, most of like the big meme coins, right? I'm talking like the big ones on Ethereum, like Shib, Pepe, all the rest of it. Probably one like Cock, like an upstart on like another L1. They could easily raise 650k to do that, and I don't get why they don't. Or am I wrong? Do you reckon they couldn't raise 650k? Because I think they could raise that in a heartbeat. I mean, Whiff did it very, very quickly, but with some momentum as well.
I mean, it's difficult to value attention. It's also very difficult to take a bet on attention. My play is, again, not financial advice, Solana becoming the index play of all the memes going forward. So just buying Solana to kind of get the whole exposure of memes. Because let's say if it does really well, what are people going to do? Sell all the profits from their meme coins and just put that in some other meme coin or some other stuff happening, right? So that's how I'm playing it. I think with this meme coin, it's all about attention, where it cycles, where it recycles. So kind of tough to take a bet. But I know some of the meme community, I can't name them, are raising in private market at exuberant valuation.
Really?
I'll tell you after the podcast. Yeah.
Fair. There must be like a massive spread in terms of sophistication of meme coin teams. But in terms of, so what you said, Mehdi, before, I think, unless I'm wrong, is that what you were effectively saying is that Solana is only useful for meme coins.
No, I'm not saying that. No. I'm not saying that. I love Solana, but
he doesn't hold
bold statements. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. That's got to be in the promo.
So with Solana, I really like Solana, and I think with the whole meme coin boom, if you cannot take a bet on whichever meme coin you want, you can basically just buy Solana, because whatever profits these people make on these meme coins will just kind of recycle within Solana. So it just kind of makes sense. Ecosystem. Yeah, so it kind of makes sense. But I think I've also heard Solana is kind of facing some degradation in terms of performance, because there has been just like so many meme coins and so much meme coin trading that even the most performant blockchain out there at the moment is still struggling. So just tells you how much appetite there is coming from retail, people from outside crypto circle trying to enter into a market, that blockchain still has a far bit to go in terms of scalability.
But is Solana the most performant blockchain at the moment? Because I reckon 100%. There are some ETH maxis that would disagree with you with the outages and all the rest of it.
100% most performant. 3 days ago, I was trying to mint the boxes from Keras. Minted like 15 NFTs. Spent like half an hour minting it and spent $1,500 on minting NFTs worth $2,000. Just doesn't make sense. So Ethereum as a base layer just is not performant. Now you can argue the L2s are trying to be more performant, but even if you look at the performance, the best case study is BNB. That's literally Ethereum on steroid, and even in that case, it's still not the most performant blockchain. It can't do more than 30 transactions per second. So I don't think Ethereum right now at its current phase is that performant. Now you can argue that L2s might be a little bit more performant, but then there are issues with liquidity, fragmentation. It's not like one-stop shop. I kind of feel like with Solana, it's becoming like a one-stop shop plus performance. So that's why I like Solana. Again, not financial advice. My financial advisor will be like, let's stop talking about meme coins. Let's get into the business of DePIN.
Yeah, we did get a bit waylaid. So we probably should go to our actual topic for today, which is DePIN, decentralized physical infrastructure networks. probably before we dive into a couple of projects, we'd love to get both of your definitions as to what DePIN actually is.
Yeah, I'll start first. So I think in terms of the actual elaboration of DePIN, it stands for decentralized physical infrastructure. But in my book, the definition is a bit more elaborate than just physical infrastructure. For me, it basically represents both digital and physical infrastructure. So when I say digital infrastructure, I mean things like storage, compute, bandwidth, all of these things. And when it comes to physical resources, anything that allows us to kind of bootstrap a network of physical things with permissionless access and tokens incentive, that basically comes into the realm of DePIN. So things like decentralized Google Maps, decentralized Uber, decentralized Airbnb, anything to do with physical world, that's the physical side, and anything to do with the digital things like storage, compute, bandwidth, content delivery comes under the umbrella of digital.
But they both come under the DePIN banner in your mind.
Yeah, in my mind, it comes under the banner of DePIN, but some people make it overcomplicated and be like, oh, they're two different segments. One is DePIN, one is DREN. I think just from a narrative standpoint, it's kind of exhausting. So I just put all of these things under one umbrella, DePIN. So even some of the AI play can come under DePIN, in my opinion. So if you take a bigger umbrella, 10,000 fit overview, DePIN can kind of cover everything.
So like why... Again, this might sound like a really, really dumb question, but it's a decentralized network that has, I guess to some extent, physical infrastructure as a key component. Why isn't Ethereum a DePIN network? It's using physical infrastructure for storage. What makes it different from something like IONET, like HNT?
I think good question. I think the way to kind of frame it is Bitcoin is like decentralized store of value. Ethereum is like decentralized store of trust. And now the component of trust is it can be decentralized finance, it can be decentralized infrastructure, it can be decentralized games, things like that. So I think one subcategory of that is DePIN. So Ethereum Ethereum has the storage component, but it's for purpose of fulfilling its own demand rather than a full-fledged storage kind of looking outwards to kind of fulfill this. So I think we can break this down further, right? Like why DePIN network makes sense, why it doesn't, all of those stuff going forward.
Yeah, sorry, Cam, what's your definition of DePIN? What does it mean to you?
Kind of echoing what Mehdi says, I think the main thing is, of course, it's a physical infrastructure, which he mentioned, like, mapping, so street matching and mapping, health tracking, decentralized Wi-Fi. So just echoing the same as Mehdi. And the difference why it makes sense or what it means to me in crypto is just purely bringing that stuff on chain. And an open ledger is one. And then two, you're just incentivizing individual users in a crypto with a crypto token. And that's just the way that it's done, that you're able to now incentivize people.
So is that the biggest advantage to doing, let's call them pins decentralized, right? Rather than centralized, is that you can wrap an asset in and use an incentive?
Yeah, I think that's one component, is it being, you're able to incentivize them with these tokens. And that's the way to I would say reel them in. And I think the other thing, what makes it, decentralized or want it to come on chain is purely the efficiency, the resilience of it, because it reduces the single point of failure. So if we're talking about mapping, for instance, let's say Google Maps, if they were to, let's say crash, or in other words, they wanted to put a cost on it, we are now in a centralized environment where they control it. Where if we bring this on chain, which I think Hive Mapper is doing with they actually built their own dash cam for people to use, and then they incentivize the users that way. But now that's with the people to actually bring that story, that mapping together, and everyone's working together to do that, and then they're incentivized that way. So there's way more components other than just incentivizing them with tokens. But I think that's one of the biggest things.
And right, general question, but how much of it is hype? I mean, honestly, like we all watched GameFi in 2021, like some really, really cool stuff coming out, from certain projects now. But it was definitely overhyped. It was definitely overfunded. It was in stage 1, stage 0 of a hype cycle. Is that the same for DePIN? Is it the same for crypto AI? Or is it,
My personal view is every narrative that comes up in crypto is always overhyped. and is always overfunded, right? And that's because, one, there's a lot of money in the ecosystem. Two, there's that being said, there's a lot of money to be made. So a lot of projects will come up and trying to solve a problem. And then you just have these bubbles, right? Like people fund it, the narrative comes, the biggest projects that succeed last, and then the other ones just burst. So yeah.
So what I'm hearing now, DePIN is a bubble. That's what you're saying here.
Every narrative's a bubble. The DeFi was a bubble. The GameFi was a bubble. NFT was a bubble. But out of that bubble, there's certain projects that actually last, right? So out of the, let's say DePIN at the moment, it's got 650 tokens that are live at the moment, or startups that are live. Out of that, maybe 10% stay around. And the same you see with DeFi, right? Like there may have been thousands, but there's only a certain percentage that stay and actually last through a bear market or that narrative.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a bubble. I would say there's overexcitement, 100%. But I think the way investors kind of think about it, like similar to Amazon Web Services, right? Like a few years ago, like in 2008-9, everybody thought it was over expensive. Nobody should touch this, and then it went on a massive bull run. Similar with Nvidia, right? Like nobody was looking at it, and then it did 200-300x. So I think even with DePIN, I think what markets are realizing that this is a big opportunity, even though it's difficult to pick winners. So because of that excitement, just valuation tends to go up. So you can say it's a bubble, you can say it's a hype, but I think big winners will come out of this, and there are a few reasons why. I can elaborate on that. And I think some of the DePIN networks have been there since 2017, like Filecoin in my book is one DePIN project that has been around since 2017-18. Started as a file storage. Now you can do compute on it and you can do retrieval, and it's 20 billion FDV. There's genuine use cases, has the biggest decentralized file storage network, gives you permissionless access if you're AI agent to kind of do interesting stuff. So I think there are merits that there is a lot of excitement both in private market, but then there is this element of winner take most or winner take all dynamic that kind of makes that formation a bubble. So even with, let's say, HiveMapper or even with Helium, this is like a three-sided marketplace. So similar to Uber Eats or similar to Grab, right? Once you are able to establish a moat with these three-sided marketplace, it's very difficult for entrant to kind of breach your moat. So because of that reason, I think investors realize that this is going to be a big TAM, even though they don't know whether this is a project to back, but they are willing to kind of pay that premium both in private and public market. There's a big opportunity. Don't know whether we are betting on the correct horse or not, but yeah, because of that, there is just like too much excitement. Like excitement sometimes overruns the actual fundamental.
But you're right. Like even if you look at Web 2, three-sided marketplaces, is once you hit critical mass, once you establish that moat, then it's money machine on in a lot of instances, right? Or at least revenues up, even if profitability isn't. But establishing that moat and setting up like proper depth in a three-sided marketplace is fucking difficult. And it's the same for Web 3, except the user base is smaller for Web 3 right now, which makes me think, like, from a cynical point of view, who's going to be kicking around at the end of it? And this is...
Yeah, so this is where it gets really interesting. So when we kind of break DePIN into physical infra and digital infra, the three-sided marketplace, I think, more difficult to establish in physical one. So things like HiveMapper and Helium, that's where the difficulty lies. I think with the digital one, the marketplace is going to be much simpler. So it's not going to be winner take most. And I think we're already seeing that in GPU markets. We have Render, Akash, IO.net, Ether, like multiple players coming in. But I think with, let's say, things like HiveMapper, Helium, I think even the devs realize it's a difficult piece to crack. So you don't see that much competition, but you don't see you don't see many investors also taking a bet. So I think you're right. But I think if you kind of break the DePIN into two parts, one is more difficult and one is more easier. The more difficult part will, I think, have winner take most dynamic. The easier part, which is the digital resources, I think is going to be a competitive, like similar to a DEX. There's going to be multiple DEXs and fragmentation and competitive landscape.
Yeah, once you get that gravitational pull for liquidity or user depth or whatever it is. Cam, what do you think?
Maybe I just want to clarify what I was saying about the bubble. I think more about...
You've been sitting
Okay, can we get it? It's not a bubble.
Maybe just edit that out.
No,
There's no problem. You don't need to go.
No, what I wanted to clarify was I wasn't calling like.
You're just worried that all the portfolio projects are sat there like, what the? Go on, mate. Explain what you meant by bubble, please.
No, what I meant was like this. The hype now of the narrative is a bubble. Like the narrative's just a bubble, but the actual DePIN itself is here to stay. Like I think there's space for it and there's a need for it. What I'm saying, out of the 650 startups that we're seeing, plus maybe a lot more now, is that not everyone's going to survive. So their bubble will burst. That's what I meant. Not as in like, it's, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope that clarifies it, Mehdi.
Yeah.
Please forgive me.
Like tulips. That definitely
yeah. I think 90%. I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Like I would say in DePIN, not even 90%. I think 95% will fail, especially on the physical side. So I agree with you. Like not everybody is going to survive.
No, I was going to say is that, and Mehdi touched on this a little bit, is that the way that I see it from maybe a new perspective, right? I'm sat here with two big boy investors, so correct me when I'm wrong, but you can kind of split the DePIN industry into what you call like the OGs and the new entrants. So OGs, like you said, stuff like Helium, Render has been a personal favorite of mine for a while, Filecoin, and then the new entrants like IONET being, I think, probably the purest, most digestible example of that. Like if you're a retail investor sat at home, you don't necessarily have access to private stage deals. Should you be looking at the OGs that have survived cycles already and that are like, you know, have been quote unquote innovating for years? Or do you take bets on some of the newer entrants that are maybe doing stuff that's a bit more up to date, but maybe some more risk involved? They haven't reached, you know, whatever FDV, whatever market cap you need to feel safe.
Yeah, this is very good. This is a very good question. I think in some cases, I feel like you have to just bet on the horse that's keep on winning. So I think with like things like Filecoin, I would say they have established a mode. But I think in some of the cases there is still a little bit to go. So you mentioned Render. My concern with Render is it's very good for creative economy like gig workers, but they are not utilizing enterprise GPUs. So from that perspective, you have new entrants coming in, right? So we have a couple of entrants, one being Ether that just focuses on enterprise, the other one being IO.net that focuses on both enterprise as well as consumer GPUs. And then on top of that are applying software to kind of cluster different types of GPU compute power as well as geography. So I think from that perspective, you have elements where the private entrants are being really thoughtful and methodical in terms of how to kind of come in and do something novel or capture a niche. But I think in some cases you have a public market which is kind of well set and they're kind of innovating. So Filecoin is also innovating. It was just storage. Now they have a FEM which allows retrieval and compute on top of Filecoin. So I think it's a bit of both. And in both the cases, we are just seeing just valuation being steep, even in the public side, and even in the private side. So as we were alluding to earlier, there's just a lot of excitement. So because of that, in both the cases, the excitement is too much. But there are genuinely, especially on the AI side, there are definitely new, interesting, novel projects that are coming up. And I think you should still take a bet on them because they have not become a trend yet. While some of the projects like your OGs like Helium and Render and HiveMapper, it's already become a trend. So I think from a private market investor perspective, taking bets where it's not a trend yet, and I think this is where AI comes in, I think becomes interesting.
My perspective would be for the public side, and we're looking at, let's say, a Filecoin. From an investment perspective, does it make, they could have the best tech and be the leading in terms of users and big giants using them. But from an investment perspective, does it make sense? Them sitting at such a high FDV, like people trying to invest and turn their money 2x, 3x, 10x, 100x. I don't think it's viable in something like Filecoin where it's already super high. Whereas you look at these new plays that are up and coming, and they're fresh, but they've got a lot of hype. Just from an investment side, it would make more sense to, because there's more upside, right? Like invest in them because there's just way more upside. Whereas I feel like on something that sits, in the billions, like Filecoin, you just,
the risk reward is just better, is what you're saying.
Yeah, of course. But of course, then there's a lot of, like you said, risk reward with that. Where like a Filecoin, of course, you're going to see that these guys are innovative and they're already established in the market. So you're safer on that bet. But yeah, so I would just say, like Mehdi was saying, there's new narratives, new plays from an investment perspective. Personally, I would just go and look at all the new stuff that's coming out rather than something that is already really, really priced in.
Yeah, but we have access. Some of the retail might not have access. So I think from that perspective, it just makes sense, right? Just to take a bet on public markets. I think another thing is, when we talk about 2x, 5x, 10x, I think traditional market is not used to these types of returns. So what they are typically looking for is 5 to 10% KDOT. 10% they're happy. Right, so my financial advisor will be like, happy, yeah. Just give me 5% and I'll leave you alone, right? So I think from that perspective, and also from a perspective of access, I mean, why not?
I love that. Cam's answer was just like, yeah, no, there's not enough return there.
I'm just sold on these 100x. So
what's the yield? Fair enough.
Just casually saying, 10x, 5x, 100x. Yeah, in equity market, they're killing each other just for like 5% return on annual basis.
Oh man, that's fair. But they also don't have all the meme coins and NFTs that we have as well. But Mehdi, you make a really interesting point, which is actually that, because you guys are big boy investors and I'm basically just another retail investor, is that, retail doesn't necessarily have access to all these deals. Like if I wanted to get exposed to IONET, I couldn't do that yet. Aside from like following them around and engaging and hoping that I'll, be able to get exposed, maybe not for free, but, in some way via an initiative or a campaign, like the options are maybe limited at the moment. But I do think that's almost definitely going to change over the next sort of, 6 to 9 months for sure.
But there's still two things on that, right? Like to get access and even talk about upside. And one is, the new narrative is point systems and airdrops. That's a huge thing. All the projects are doing that. So retail can actually get involved for zero money is one. And then two, when it does, list or launch, they can still get in there. And then, there's less risk as a private investor. You have risk of them never going to launch because they just couldn't find product market fit or they just ran out of money, all these different risks that, play a part. So they just, the retail side is, now we're getting something that is more secure because they have been able to list. And there's still a lot of upside if the hype and the narrative's there.
Yeah, 100%. So, Cam just hit the point with the hammer there. So retail can participate in airdrops. The other thing retail can do, apart from investing, is you can set up your own GPUs, right? Like you can contribute the GPU to your network or storage and still make money. And I think with IO.net, their incentivized points is running. So since we are at the early stage of the network, you can still earn relatively higher rewards just for providing that compute services. So in effect, the beauty of Web3 is it's actually it's very democratic in a way that, let's say, okay, if you're not an investor, you can provide this resource, take participation in the network, and become an equity owner of in this network. So let's say if you don't want to invest in public market, you can contribute your resources and on rewards, similar to like a BTC miner, right? Like you mine, you get BTC.
It's a really fair point. Like I literally just forgot the whole point of
even though we spoke about it a few minutes ago.
But yeah, I was like, the only way to make money with DePIN is through gambling on it, obviously. Okay, right. Here's a question. What's going to increase more, both in terms of percentage terms and real terms, the market cap of DePIN projects or the market cap of meme coins next 6 months?
Meme coins are too strong, man.
What do you mean too strong already? No, so you don't have the growth, or too strong as in like it's up only from now?
So from now until 6 months, I'm gonna bet on meme coins. I just think there's so many of them.
Same.
The landscape is huge. There's like, we're talking now, and probably 50 have just been launched as we're speaking. And people are just.
There might be a meme coin called Mixed Race Magic after this podcast.
Nice, excellent. MRM.
MRM.
But no, I've got.
No, go on. That's fine.
Yeah,
My bet is meme coins.
Actually, yeah, Mehdi, what's yours?
I am there with Cam here. I think it's very difficult to kind of value culture, and meme coins are culture and attention. Yeah, so definitely I think far higher market cap than DePIN network, at least in short to medium run. So even if you look at US economy, right? Look at US economy. Majority of the US economy is intangible. So those intangible in a way is a meme, right? So those memes can be expressed through meme coin and crypto. So from that perspective, doesn't see why meme coin wouldn't have a higher market cap than all of DePIN AI stuff combined, because it's culture.
Such an eloquent, smart answer. Why would you do that to me, man? There's absolutely no need to do that here, for sure. But I mean, so I've got like a lot of friends of mine are in traditional finance. They're working for investment banks, hedge funds, quantitative funds, and all the rest of it. And a lot of them are sort of like last 2 or 3 months, obviously, getting a little bit more turned on by crypto, by blockchain, all the rest of it. And I'm explaining to them like how even, how DLT works, or just how Bitcoin works, for instance, like a really simple proof of work stuff. And it's going really well. And, they're taking it really seriously. I'm making the case for a store of value. And then they're like, oh, yeah, but how big is Dogecoin? I'm like, oh, yeah, it's like 25 billion. Whatever. I was like, really quiet.
That's store of culture. Kind of like, that's store of culture, boss.
Store of culture. That's what I've got to say. Okay. Store of culture. Is Doge going to get dethroned this cycle?
No, it can't. Elon is just the biggest shiller. So
no.
That's
fair. That's fair. But what about one like Shin?
So. You don't think?
No. Where's that? That was like the most conviction you've had all show.
Had K9 come out.
Yeah.
Well, in the ecosystem.
Like they have Shibarium.
Sorry, go on.
They have
Shibarium. This is what I meant about meme coin utility. That's what I meant. That was an example at the beginning. Yeah.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I've also heard that they're doing interesting things on L3 sides. I can't disclose much. Yeah, so there's a lot of partnership. They're working towards getting that attention, and yeah, so they're going down the route of utility. They also have an NFT collection. They have their own L2, so they're definitely cooking in terms of expanding the attention everywhere. Yeah.
You guys are like two biggest meme coin maxis in the entire space, and you're both institutional investors. I love it.
We're truth seekers.
So good. But yeah. Oh my goodness. So I think last question on DePIN, if you think we've got time. So Cam, Mehdi, you guys are with MH Ventures and Animoca Brands, two of the most well-respected investors in the space as an umbrella, and you guys are really leading on those fronts. If you had to pick, let's say two DePIN related projects that you have an awful lot of conviction in for 2024, right? The real sort of projects to watch, quote unquote, what would they be?
My first pick is going to be io.net, and I say that because we've spoken at one about DePIN, and we've also touched a bit on AI, and I think that there's an overlap, right, with AI and DePIN. And what io.net is actually achieving, or is trying to achieve, is bringing all of the GPUs in a decentralized fashion, where users, miners, and other places where they have big GPU storage, to facilitate their GPUs on io.net, and then allow big machine learning tech people to use their clusters. So they're not looking for individuals to play around in their services. They're actually looking for people that are, they want 10,000 GPUs in a cluster in whatever region, and they can select a certain region and then put them to use. And with that narrative, I think I'm like super excited for the AI sector, and then io.net actually powering that sector. So I think that these guys they're already established before they've even launched their token. The product's already being used, and now we're seeing huge mining facilities actually putting up their GPUs onto IO.net. They recently partnered up with Render as well as Filecoin, which we've touched on as well. Some of the two biggest already established DePIN products out there, which people would look at them and argue that they're two competitors, but they're actually not. They're able to work together in certain ways. So that's one. And the second one, I would say, I am shilling my own bags as well, where I invest into IO.net. And the second one is Peak. Again, we're an investor. And Peak is an L1, but is actually structured on being a blockchain for DePIN. So people are able to build different infrastructures on top of Peak. And that could be, ride sharing or vehicle sharing, street mapping. It could be health tracking, green energy farming, all these different things that we grow up and we don't know anything about green energy farming, but that's something that people can build on there, and it's going to be huge, right? And I think people can argue the fact that why does DePIN even need to be on chain, but I think it solves so much, and I think we have to think about the bigger picture of our everyday life and what we do and the data that we give away, and where we're imprisoned to these big companies, and I think this is setting us free, and I think that's like the biggest takeaway.
Well, it's a bubble.
And it's a bit of yes.
Yeah, Cam is also shilling Animoca's bag. We're investors in both IO.net as well as Peak Network. Very, very well said, Cam. I would just add, to our previous point, right? It's very difficult to sometimes pick out winners, which are in the DePIN sector because of the three-sided marketplace, right? Like in some of the physical infrastructure. So a lazy man's approach would be try to pick a L1, like similar to the index play of memes is Solana. So index play of all the DePIN project building on top, not picking a winner. I think Peak Network fits here really well. And my another thesis is, since it will have ecosystem, they'll do an airdrop, so they'll actually facilitate the projects building on top to kind of bootstrap that flywheel of setting up and bootstrapping a network. So imagine you are a ride sharing company, you get incentives to just do what you're doing as a user. On top of that, while you're using that dApp, you get the Peak token. So you're getting attacked by from both sides in terms of token rewards, and that just allows you to just join the network faster and just literally use the service. So I think for that reason, I'm particularly bullish on Peak, just to add. And IO.net, the cloud service, it's a monopoly, right? And we have so much spare capacity and so much demand out there. It just makes sense to kind of leverage people like us who have excess capacity in our compute to kind of provide that.
I mean, I'm the only one of the three of us that isn't involved in IONET, but we met the team in Denver, and they're like, they know what they're doing, to a really, really serious extent. But cheers for that, boys. That was awesome. So I think
share his too yet,
if we're happy to call it there.
I haven't shared mine. Yeah, I'll share.
Oh,
mine.
I thought you had just said you guys could share. Okay, yeah, carry on.
No, I think we are both investors in this, so we can shill our bags together, like tag team there. A little bit of tag teaming. Another one I'm particularly excited about is Humanity Protocol. So with Humanity, it's trying to be a competitor to WorldCoin, and this is a big TAM out there. Like, just think about from a crypto native standpoint. There's so many AI agents. There will be so many AI agents. There's so many bots already in Web3 chains, whether it comes to airdrop farming, DAO voting, and things like that. So one element that will become really important is that you can prove that you're human and you're unique. So based on that, you can get airdrops, you can get like universal basic equity, and you can also enjoy applications that are just meant for actual human consumption and entertainment. So this, I think, can prove to be a huge catalyst for on-chain gaming, can be a huge catalyst for RWA, enterprise DeFi, where you have to do KYC. It can be a interesting play for network state, where you have to again prove that you're human. You're not just being a citizen or trying to hack your way in. And also human-centric DePIN. Imagine a network where you can get extra rewards just because you're human. It's kind of like a subsidy that government gives, right? So I think from that perspective, Humanity Protocol is interesting. Also look at WorldCoin; it's 110 billion, with Sam Altman just giving its phase and not working. So I think from that perspective, also interesting play. I also like Ritual. I'm not gonna. We're not invested in Ritual yet, but I also like Ritual. I think it's an interesting open source AI network play, which kind of connects both the AI model side and also the GPU network by allowing the inference to be done in an open source way. So I think we'll see a lot of projects integrating that from a model training perspective, model creation perspective, as well as inference perspective, where these GPU networks are providing compute for this inference and all the blockchains out there connecting. So I think in private market, those are like few names I would say I'm actually excited about.
Keep an eye on for sure. So we saw with I don't know, GameFi is a very obvious one. Some would say that we're seeing similar stuff with AI, but we talk a lot about hype cycles, right? So 2021, Axie Infinity triggered it, very much a hype cycle for GameFi, blockchain gaming, all the rest of it. Is that what we're seeing with DePIN? Is it something slightly different? Are we in that initial phase? Are we due, a reduction in valuations at some point in the midterm, or is it up only for DePIN?
I'll have a first crack at this. I think what I'll say is I feel like there are a few projects that will survive beyond the hype, and we have already seen some signs of it. Like first one being Filecoin, has been there since 2017, has interesting storage, retrieval and compute play there, has their own virtual machine. So I think that that project is public, keeps on getting market share. So I think that will survive. I also feel there are other interesting plays like BitTensor that have kind of used Polkadot subnet system and its software kit to kind of like spun up this whole AI and crypto theme, where other projects, rather than launching their own chain, will launch a subnet on BitTensor. So I think these are the two projects, even beyond hype, I'm excited about, that I think will keep on compounding, at least for near term. Even though valuation might be on the high side, again, not financial advice, but I feel like the way they have kind of structured themselves and the way the incentives and the architecture is designed, I think there's a definite product market fit and some compounding element there.
That makes an awful lot of sense. I think, those are two very, very interesting projects, which, even though, BitTensor maybe a little bit on the newer side, is a lot of people, you'd say it's reached a critical mass now where to some extent it's probably de-risked, right? Again, not financial advice. Cam, what about you? What do you think about the public markets DePIN? We talk a lot about the private.
So maybe I can just share like the negative side. So with GameFi, what we saw was, games propping up. The tokenomic model was the issue, right?
I love how you say GameFi, by the way. It gives me little flutters. You say gamify. I love that. I just say GameFi. But yeah, gamify. I prefer it. Sorry, carry on, man. That was so rude.
Go back to GameFi. The two token model was an issue, right? Which we saw, and in the last bubble, which just every game died because of it. Incentives ran out. So there's no point in these people playing. So now we move over to DePIN, and we're incentivizing users that are providing the infrastructure, whatever it may be, with tokens. If the token models are not done right, or what happens during a bear market, and when these tokens do go down, do we come to an issue where people are like, oh, there's no point in me sharing my, infrastructure, or there's no point in me having this dash cam on my car like Hivemap is doing because I'm just not making as much money as I used to. So that's where I see a flaw, and I think during this cycle we'll find out if there's any, if and how we solve that. We are relying on individual users to provide, this infrastructure so that we can actually become in a decentralized way. That's the approach that we want. So I think, and that's like the biggest issue, right? Like, because we're in a financial transaction, with everything that we do in crypto, everyone just expects these certain returns, which we spoke about earlier, right? Like, my mind frame was, I need a 10x, I need a 100x. So I think that's like the flaw that we'll see, and we'll just, the saying goes, if we fuck around and we'll find out. and even to now, Mehdi will know more of me on this, but in the gaming side, have we solved the 2 token model? I don't think we have, but I think everyone's just gone back down to just 1 token.
Yeah, 1 token model and one soft currency inside the game. That's more of a utility hyperinflationary. But that 2 token model was an eye opener, right? So there were a lot of lessons learned, and then now we're seeing huge projects emerging like Pixels and Mavia that kind of learn from some of those lessons and trying to innovate. What's interesting is even the 2 projects I mentioned, they were not actually physical infrastructure ones, they were digital resource ones, right? BitTensor is AI and crypto, Filecoin is storage. So I think that goes back to Cam's point. With decentralized physical infrastructure, you have a 3-sided marketplace. Tokenomics is very difficult to figure out. That's what happens with Helium. And HiveMapper is trying to innovate from some of the lessons learned, and we are yet to figure out whether physical infrastructure could kind of bootstrap it, because there's a chicken and egg problem, right? Like in order to bootstrap, you need a token. Token needs to do well in order for people to have incentive, but for whatever reason the token doesn't do well, or let's say you give out too many tokens initially, and then at the later stage the newer people coming in, they don't have that much tokens, like similar to what happened with Helium, then you have issues. So I think tokenomics is something that I'm actually looking out for in terms of the physical infrastructure plays, as Cam mentioned, that needs to be sorted. I think the digital side will be much easier, but the physical one, because of the 3-sided marketplace nature, will be difficult.
It does sound like you're much more bullish on the digital infrastructure side.
Not really. Not really.
Oh.
Not
Okay.
really. Physical infrastructure more bullish, because of the 3-sided marketplace. You can have more compounding, but difficult to know which one will be the winner. The digital resource side, only bullish on those names that have kind of established moat. So with Filecoin and BitTensor, I feel like they have some sort of a product market fit. But the newer ones, I think the competitive landscape it's a bit like a DEX, right? Like there's too much competition there. Yeah, if they're able to figure out the tokenomics on the physical infrastructure side, more bullish on those projects. So going back to Cam's thesis on peak network, I kind of share the same. Like, difficult to take a bet on the physical infrastructure. You basically take a bet on the L1 that gives you the
one of the many ways that DePIN projects are like meme coins,
on top.
I guess.
So things like peak network.
Cam, did you want to add anything there?
Again, I sold my bags on BitTensor, just to let you know. But on that, right now it's super expensive to hit up a subnet, right? Like I think it's somewhere between 2 mil or plus just to have a subnet. And then for people to create any sort of machine learning on there, they'll need to use GPUs, right? Again, Mehdi, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. Which again is expensive. So if you look at like OpenAI, and I know this is like on a different scale, but OpenAI, they had like 300,000 CPUs and 20,000 GPUs just to train GPT-3. And right now, for people to run that model and build stuff on top, or just use it in general. So people just to use OpenAI or ChatGPT to just ask a question and it to return something, they're spending like $700,000 per day, right? So now we look at BitTensor and people building subnets, and then they want people to use their infrastructure at the end of it, and they're going to have all this compute power, your GPU, CPUs or whatever, that's costing them money. What like my whole thing is, what happens when a bear market comes, and how do these guys survive paying all this because people still want to use their stuff?
Cynical view, but it's probably fair, to be fair, right? Like when the setup costs are that high, it's just, that's like your first barrier to entry before you get to anything else, before you get to like nailing tokenomics or providing like a decent product or anything like that. That's kind of hurdle one. So if you're going to trip up there, then potentially some difficulties for sure. Was there anything else that we? Oh yeah.
But I'm gonna be more.
I was gonna say we've got to
now.
change your nickname to Bubble Man.
And I'm gonna say this. I actually did a podcast or like a Twitter Spaces not long ago, and I did it with Linera, and I swear I came away from that and I was like, wow, I'm like the most bearish person there is. But I'm actually not. Like, I'm bullish. I just look at things on both sides of the coin, right? Like the bull narrative and then also the bear narrative. Anyway, maybe we could just like now me being bearish, but talk about things that we think are going to survive. And yeah, I think BitTensor will definitely survive. Super bullish on it. I think the tokenomics model that they did, you know, it just mirrors Bitcoin, and I love that. And I think the whole thing for that is amazing. Morpheus, you know, again, didn't raise a penny, and they're building out all their AI stuff on there. So people, I think in the first 24 hours they put, was it 40 million? I might be wrong, maybe more than that. Yeah, I think bullish on that, like actually trying to go decentralized. And then, you know, shilling my own bags, Peak and Ionet. And my picks, I think, will survive.
Very wise. What was your, I don't want to say worst, but I want to say if you could go back in time and not make the investment, that's exactly what you would do. Worst investment of 2024. 2023, rather.
Yeah, mine was just buying a studio in Dubai too early. I should have rather put that money in Solana.
Why? Just because of valuations, or because you don't like it?
Bro, Solana did 20x from 2023. 20x. I made a lot of money on Solana, but my regret is,
I should be like,
easier to do in hindsight,
the money I spent on food,
I didn't go aggressive enough.
Because I should have put it in,
I had conviction it will do well.
Or Cockinu, or something like that. I feel that's a difficult one. He brought up,
but that was extra cash, not coming out of my food budget, mate. Like, it was extra cash. I was like, yeah, and that studio is just not giving that much return.
Okay, that's a good answer.
Yeah, in hindsight, yeah. And don't even get me started on some of the investment in 2021, 2022, like some of the GameFi
definitely
and
not
NFT stuff.
On that front,
but it is what it is.
Getting exposed in the NFT and GameFi sector in certain places, for sure. Cam, what about you?
So going back to, let's say, the last bull cycle with the GameFi coming up to its peak, and then we had the NFT renting, right?
Are you talking about guilds, just really quickly?
I was super. Yeah. So I was like, of course, balls to the walls with building like, you know, our own companies. But like the part of me was also missing the fact of investing, right? I wasn't able to really, you know, degen or do shit trading or whatever you want to call it. Shitcoin trading. So I was like, fuck it, I want to do something fun. And GameFi to me was like cool. I was like, oh my God, like I can buy these NFTs and rent them out and people can work for me, have fun, and, you know, make some money on top. I literally went bought, I'm not going to name the project because the guy is actually a cool friend. So I went balls. I actually do this in many projects. I went balls to the walls, buying the NFTs, renting them out, and just didn't know the bubble that was going to happen. And I swear to you, on one of these projects there was a horse project.
Zrun.
I don't know if you're going to call them horses or whatever.
Okay.
Had over... No, it wasn't Zrun. Had over maybe 300 horses that at one point were worth like nearly $1 million. And I was like... And I was actually doing this with my brother. Me and my brother were just doing it just for fun. And I was like, look, we just need to get out. Let's just get out. Like, this is a good time. Like, we've made good money. Nah, we'll make so much money with the coin that we're gaining. Let's just keep going. We want to be the biggest guild for the name. And I was like, I don't really care about that. This is personal. Just do it for fun, make some money. Well, anyway, I think within 2 weeks, the bubble burst. And I think they're worth zero now somewhere in my wallet. Yeah. That was my
that's
worst
true.
investment.
That's true.
Should have bought the real horses.
So, I mean, talk about like not seeing the bubble about to pop, or not, you know, I think a lot of it was triggered by certain external events, right? Terra Luna and FTX being the obvious ones, but probably a few more beyond that. But, you know, nobody saw it coming, or at least I think that nobody saw it coming in the way that it did eventually happen. But Mehdi, did you? Because you were such an expert on, you know, GameFi, tokenomics. You did.
Yeah, I did. I wouldn't say I saw the catalyst. I didn't see the FTX, but with Terra Luna, when the DPEX started happening, uh, I was with Token Metrics Venture. I saw it coming. I kind of saved the fund, like a lot of money as well, because when the DPEG happened, I told them like, let's just get all the exposure we had with Terra, even though we are losing a couple of percentages, like take it off the books. So the reflexivity involved with Terra Luna, I saw that happening. But both the Terra and the Luna market cap combined meant contingent on a lot of different hedge funds. I think this is where 3AC, this is where FTX, all of that they were involved in, and that kind of came to burn them, right? So combined market cap of both the stable and Luna was $130 billion. And it got wiped in a matter of days. Like you can't even restructure it because everything was in smart contracts. And they had the treasury of Bitcoin and some of the other tokens, which they were also selling in the market. So there was so everything that happened after that, I think the catalyst was the Terra Luna. So I kind of saw that happen, but I didn't imagine the impact would last for about 2 years. And I wish, in hindsight,
or like low
I wish some elements of the bear market were back, so we could study and
That makes a lot of sense. So do we think that we'd spot another coming? Like exclude Black Swan events or the rest of it. Do you guys think you'd be able to extrapolate when things are about to go really south really quickly? And in line with that, really,
I would say not from macro standpoint. I think with the macro standpoint, nobody can. Fair. If we can, I wouldn't be having a podcast. I will be chilling in some sort of a yacht, right? So, yacht. Yeah, so I can't be, I don't see, but I think one of the biggest innovation to come out of crypto at the moment is eigenlayer, but it also involves a lot of leverage in the system. So I'm keeping an eye on that. Let's see how that evolves. If there was a big gray swan event, I think could come from eigenlayer, or potentially eigenlayer doesn't have that and just takes the crypto market to like 3x from here. So yeah, just let's wait and watch, see what comes out of that. But I think that is one thing to kind of keep a close eye on. It could go either way.
I guess it's anywhere you've got really concentrated capital, which is like a centralized exchange, a decentralized stablecoin ecosystem. It's just really, really concentrated pools of capital. And my understanding was that part of the reason that bridges always got attacked is just because you have a very, very obvious concentration of capital, like just somewhere to nick, somewhere to get damaged, all the rest of it. Cam, what about you? Could you see it coming this time?
But one thing I 100% do, just because I think it's literally impossible to know. I just keep deleveraging. As market goes up, I just deleverage, and it's something that we do at the fund as well. Like, as market keeps going up, FDVs keep going higher, we just deleverage on investments. Meaning, as in, we slow down investing, just because some of the FDVs are just getting ridiculous. Yeah. Even now, we're seeing FDVs getting ridiculous. And there's talks of us thinking, do we start to slow down?
Well, that was my next question. Are you guys still full throttle ahead at the moment? Because I know that Bloomberg pointed out that you were a top 5 most active investor for the last quarter, the last half, something like that. Have you guys slowed down yet, or are you you think we're still so early on in a cycle that things are still pretty active from your side? Because I'm guessing there's going to come a point where you switch from really looking at deployment to really just helping out the portcos that you deployed into.
Yeah. Exactly, and that Bloomberg was, I think, from from last year. I think it was. So that was our bear market investments, and it was so much easier to analyze. Actually, get really good gems because FDVs were great. People were actually building real stuff, and they wanted to build. They weren't just doing it because of the narrative. So great investments out of that. Coming into the bull market, have we slowed down? I wouldn't say we've slowed down. I think we've done a lot of investments recently, but it's just sifting through all of the crap, right? Because there's so much deal flow that's comes through, and I think that's what slows it down. And we're in the thing is, we're in such an environment that people just want to, like I was saying at the beginning, people just want to throw money. People just follow on because of other backers. And that's something we have to take a bit of time because we actually want to know that the founders are good, the product's good, they can build what they want to build, and it's not just purely a white paper that never comes to fruition, right? So it's a little bit slow on that side, and it's like we become and look slower in a bull market just because everyone else is trying to move 10x faster because they don't care about doing the DD because they just follow one from other VCs. So have we slowed down? Looking at back at the bear market, no, but it looks like we've slowed down just because of people trying to push.
That makes a lot of sense. Yep, so before we call it quits there, guys, just another reminder that nothing in this podcast episode is in any way intended to constitute financial or legal advice, anything like that at all. Again, 3 guys sitting down, talking about an industry that we're all really, really passionate about, and, in no way do we represent our respective organizations in this particular context. We're just 3 guys having fun and chatting.